What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here to review the shit show that was Tottenham Hotspur last night, once again losing 4-2 at the Etihad at the hands of Manchester City. And a bit different this time, you know. We're usually seeing the same things and speaking about the same things every week, but at least we actually somewhat turned up in the first half yesterday. I thought, look, I think Bentancur, just him alone just makes such a difference, and the way he presses from the front, the way he dictates the play from the middle of the park, I think he's absolutely brilliant, and he just makes the world of difference to us. But at least it was nice to see us play a bit of football in the first half, Sim.
Yeah, at times we were able to. I still think Man City had a lot of possession. I think we were fairly confident in possession. I was pretty happy with it. It's not like we carved Man City open too many times. I think Son had a header, which Ederson saved. Other than that, we didn't have too many clear opportunities up against Man City, but I think the more positive thing is we were able to restrict Man City ourselves. Haaland had a chance where he got ahead of Hugo and headed it over the bar. Other than that, weren't too many openings for Man City. We were defending solidly. When we did get possession, as you say, Bentancur was so silky. Was able to. It's the big difference when we have been centred. We have someone who's able to look up, have a bit of calmness on the ball, play the right pass. Kulusevski was causing trouble down that right hand side. Kane was looking decent. Son was still not great, but we were looking good without really forcing the issue. And then what happened is we just pounced on two Man City mistakes. They've made two mistakes at the end of the half, which they weren't doing throughout the opening 40 minutes. A mistake from Ederson at the goal kick, playing a poor pass to Rodri. He panics, gives it to Kulusevski.
Great pressing from Bentancur for that goal.
Very good pressing. And we forced them. I think 2-0 definitely flattered us. I said that at the time as well when we were 2-0 up. I definitely felt like we didn't deserve to be 2-0 up at half time, but you got to take it. And I think the way we're defending, the way this game was going, and especially given the fact we usually do better in second halves, you've got to be confident going 2-0 up at half time, especially given our recent record against Man City, that we were gonna go on and win the game.
Look, it was completely luck for us to go into that 2-0 up. I think that I don't even think we deserved to be 1-0 up going into the lead, to be honest. I still think Man City had the better of that first half, and I think I couldn't understand it for the life of me. I was there sitting right behind that goal where Man City were attacking in the first half, and Man City had, how many corners did they have in that first half? They had 7 corners in that first half. It was like corner after corner after corner, and I just noticed every time they had a corner, Haaland was completely free every single time. He had a few chances to score. He had a few tame efforts where he probably should have done better in that first half. But it was all over the shop for the defending from the corners specifically. But I think that when you're taking into account the performance of the first half, I think we got City into some areas that they didn't want to be in. We were performing quite confidently for the most part of that first half, but City did put us under pressure. But yeah, we were super lucky to go into that half time being 2-0 up, never mind 1-0 up.
I mean, can you get the phone up? You can just see here's the stats of the first half. I think it tells a story. It was fairly even. City 7 shots to Spurs 6. XG 0.44 for City, 0.43 for Tottenham. Even though I think that's a bit underplayed because it says the XG for the Tottenham's goals. You would expect higher than 0.1 for Emerson's goal, and it says
point blank header.
Yeah, and 0.13 for Kulusevski's goal. It was a 1-on-1 situation. So I reckon it's a bit higher than 0.43 in my opinion, but whatever, they've given it 0.43. They've given Man City 0.44 for the first half as well. So it was a fairly even game. 7 corners, yeah, as you say, to 3. It does say here Man City did have 2 big chances in the first half. I'm trying to remember when they were.
Well, there was that Haaland one at the back post where he had a really tame effort.
I mean, from the corner?
From the corner.
It wasn't a big chance.
I thought it was a really big chance.
He was free, but he would have done very well to score from it, I thought.
It was just a poor shot from him. Like Haaland, you'd expect Haaland to score from there. Well, I expected him to score from there anyway. The other big chance, I can't really remember.
There
what
was
it
one from Haaland, I remember, where he had a header when he got ahead of Lloris. Lloris came out for it, and Haaland got there first and was over the bar. So he did have a couple of chances, but I did like those were weren't chances that I felt like. I felt like we were actually like in the game. I didn't feel like
we were.
I didn't feel like we were just waiting for City to score, if you know what I mean.
It's the best first half we've had in a long time. That's the facts of the matter. I think we were competitive for that first 45 minutes. And I liked the performance of Bentancur a lot. I thought, like I said, he makes such a difference when he's in this team. Kulusevski was causing them problems. He was probably our biggest danger man on the day yesterday. Harry Kane was trying his best. But it's the second half where it all went wrong once. Well, not once again, but why can we only perform for 45 minutes in games?
As you can see,
it doesn't make sense.
Just before we get into it, the stats the second half tell the story. 1.93 XG for City, 0.38 for Spurs. I think that all comes from that one Perisic chance as well. 9 shots to 3. We didn't have a shot on target. I guess Perisic doesn't count on target. I guess it was blocked, hit the bar. Yeah, no shots on target.
The bar, though?
It was Rico Lewis.
Oh, it was Rico Lewis. Yeah,
he blocked it onto the bar.
On target then,
yeah. 4 shots on target for Man City. They scored every shot on target.
What a brilliant player he is, by the way, Rico Lewis. What a performance yesterday.
Yeah, he looks very mature, doesn't he? And very tactically aware. 7 shots inside the box. He had 3 big chances as well, Man City, and they scored all of them. It was pure domination in that second half, and they really put us to the sword, especially in that opening. I think it was 2-2 after 8 minutes, I think, in the second half.
It was. And it was like they just literally flicked the switch and came out and showed everyone why they're champions, really. And they tore us to shreds in the opening 20 minutes of, well, to be honest, the majority of that 45 minutes, the second half.
I think when I'm analysing that second half, of the first 10 minutes, we were all at sea. We were all over the place. And we got what we deserved for those opening 10 minutes. They scored 2 goals. The defending was poor. Perisic and Lloris for the first goal was a shambles. Perisic was a shambles for the second goal, playing Haaland onside.
Perisic had a hand in 3 goals yesterday.
And the third goal.
3 of the 4.
But we'll go into the third goal in a second. But the opening 2 goals were all a C. And then actually we got back in the game. And I actually thought for the next 10 minutes we were actually looking good again, and it looked like we'd shaken off that those defensive mishaps and kind of calmed ourselves down, regained our composure, and started to play our game again. And we did create a couple of opportunities, and then obviously we had that big one. Kulusevski breaks down the right hand side.
What a ball to Perisic.
Cuts it back. He always picks the right option, doesn't he, Kulusevski, in those scenarios. Pulls it back to Perisic. He has to score in that position. And he gets deflection, and it hits the bar. And then probably not even a couple minutes later, they went on and they get a deflection, and then it scores. And and then once it went 3-2 to Man City, at that point. Then again, we didn't look like we were going to get back in the game after that. I feel like when Spurs play a team like Man City, we need Man City to throw a bit of caution to the wind in these games, because we need them to play so that we have the space to play in going forward. And I feel like once Man City went ahead, that's exactly where they want us. They can kind of control possession. We are not going to be that intense in our pressing, because that's not usually how we play when we push really far up on a consistent basis. And we can't really be counter-attacking them, because all of a sudden Man City now can just sit back a bit. They can invite us on, and then they can hit us. And after that, we didn't really have an answer. We only really looked like in the game once it was either level or we were in the lead. But once Man City took the lead, we didn't really have an answer to that.
No, we didn't. And again, it brings us back to what we always talk about, and that is individual errors, not good enough players at this football club. Because I think this team are playing to the maximum of their capability at the moment. I don't see a team that are not trying. And I think this team is literally playing to the maximum of their capabilities. And unfortunately, there's not enough good players in this team. When you're looking at that defence that was on that pitch yesterday, Perisic got absolutely torn to pieces last night by Mahrez. 3 of those goals he had his hand in. Hugo Lloris, 2 of the goals he had his hand in. And now that's 4 out of his last 5 games. I think even 5 out of his last 6 games, if you take into account the game before the World Cup as well, where Lloris is making mistakes. And I think this goalkeeping situation is becoming more of a pressing issue than we even thought coming into this season. And potentially we even need to look at one this January. I don't think we will, but I think that's the case. I mean, we're just giving away goals too often at the moment. Eric Dyer. Jesus Christ, that defending last night from Eric Dyer. He was completely lost on that football pitch yesterday. I mean, how can we keep going into games? And, you know, we did so well. Okay, it was a bit fortuitous to be in the lead, but to go into the break at 2-0 up at the Etihad, you know, you don't get those opportunities too often at the Etihad where Man City just give you the goals. And all we needed to do in that second half is to be defensively solid and take our chances on the break. And we couldn't even do that. Defenders nowhere near good enough. Clement Longley comes on and just gives away a goal, a bit like Dyer against Liverpool. And it's just not good enough. These players that we have, how many times can we talk about it consistently, game after game, year after year? These players are just not good enough. I think Højbjerg was completely lost in that second half as well. Heung-min Son, when are we going to see a good performance from him? I mean, it's time for him to come out of the team, in my opinion. He needs to be taken out the firing line a little bit. But the problem is we don't have a squad for this. We can't take Hugo Lloris out the firing line because Fraser Forster's not a better keeper than Hugo Lloris. We can take Son out the firing line now because we've recovered Richarlison, but before then we couldn't take him out the firing line. Perisic, what are you going to do? Bring in Sessegnon? Like, Sessegnon's not good enough either. So what do? We take out Ben Davis, we bring in Clement Longley yesterday, he makes some mistakes. Everyone that we're bringing in the back line is making vital errors at the moment, and until we sort out this backline and bring in signings, this is just going to be keep happening. And I don't know, these decision makers at this football club, like, when are they going to realise this? When are they going to dip their hand in their pocket and realise that we can't go on like this?
They should have realised a long time ago. We've been calling for new defenders for a very long time. I think possibly the worst thing that Conte did was get Dyer to play really well for 6 months and convince everyone that he could be the answer, because he's clearly not. Yesterday, I thought he were on the ball, especially. He was playing really dangerous passes with a little care and a little accuracy. I thought that he was giving the ball away way too cheaply. Defensively, he'd made some good blocks, but I think by and large, I think players fancied themselves against Eric Dyer, and why wouldn't you? I don't think he's good enough to take Tottenham to the next level. Look, we've said it a million times. It's so frustrating to say it, the same things, and nothing ever changes.
It's like everyone can see it. Everyone can see it outside the club. Every opposition manager can see it for targeting our defence. Every fan base can see it. The Tottenham fans can obviously see it. Conte can see it, but nothing gets done about it.
Yeah. This team won't push on without a new set of defenders. That's the reality. I mean, conceding 31 goals after 20 games is ridiculous.
But what's happened
since October?
Since October, we've conceded the most goals in the Premier League.
It's mad. It's madness.
In 9 out of the last 10 games, we've conceded 2 or more goals. It's not good enough. It is really not good enough. And when are they going to take accountability and actually do something about the situation? All we're hearing is that we're not going to bring in a centre-back, which is crazy.
I mean, I would blame Conte. Look, Conte does have a lot of responsibility. Don't get me wrong. He's not blameless in this. But I would blame him more, right, if we were continually just being opened up and teams were getting chances after chance. But what's happening is we're just giving them goals. We're just for example, that long leg, the 4th goal yesterday. It's like Conte can't do anything about that. A ball comes over to him, he takes a horrible touch and just gifts Mahrez a 1-on-1. Like, there's nothing Conte can do about these kind of unbelievable individual errors. When Lloris is chucking the ball in the back of the net, like, there's only so much you can do about those kind of things.
Absolutely.
You can set up defensively all you want, or you can change it up. But when these individuals, and we said the same thing under Mourinho, when these individuals are just doing unbelievable individual errors, there's only so much you can do. And when they're doing it on a consistent basis as well, it's just so disheartening. And it's like we've seen these situations time after time again, and we're just sick. I'm personally just sick of saying the same thing. It's like, how many times I'm going to say Dyer's made a mistake, or this one's made a mistake, that one's made a mistake? It just keeps happening. And these defenders are not fit for purpose for a Conte team. And people are going to say, well, look at Brentford, look at Fulham, all this. Look, I hate these comparisons. They got nowhere near the expectations Tottenham do.
The fact of the matter is we're above both those teams anyway.
We're above them as well. So it's a relevant comparison, in my opinion. It's silly. They only got one game a week. They've got different aspirations to us, and we're above them. So it's not like it's different.
If Brentford and Brighton were having the season that we're having right now, they'd be on top of the world. We're doing better than what they're doing this season. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's no comparison there whatsoever. And I hear people talking about Conte being like, oh, it's Conte's tactics, it's Conte's team selection. What choice does he have with the team selection? Please tell me. What choice does he have? Does he have a choice to not play Dyer? Well, yeah, he can bring on Longley, but Longley's doing the same shit. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what choice do we have? We're going to take out Hugo Lloris and bring in Fraser Forster. Fraser Forster will come in and make a mistake. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's like Fraser Forster came in against Brentford. All right, he didn't have his worst game, but he still made a mistake leading to a goal. So, everyone we bring in, you can take out Perisic from the team last night. You're going to bring in Ryan Sessegnon. Is he good enough? Is he going to do anything positively?
Everyone criticised Conte for leaving out Perisic against Arsenal, you know what I mean? And playing Sessegnon, and now I can see why. Yeah. To be fair, look, when I think about Perisic, I said this yesterday, he was horrible yesterday, but I don't think those are the games where Perisic is like, that's where we need him in those kind of games. We need him in games where we're going to be more on the front foot and dominate, and we're going to force the issue on the opposition. Games against Man City and Arsenal, when we're doing a lot of defending, I would always be hesitant to play someone like Perisic, because he's naturally a winger. Defensively is not his forte, and when you come up against people like Mahrez and Saka, who are very good in one-on-one dribbling in those situations, there's always a possibility he could be ripped apart like he was yesterday. Yeah. And that's not to say he's not a very good wing back just because of that, but in those kind of games I don't trust him, especially at 33, that's for sure. But where he's good at is the other games where he's going to have a lot of possession of the ball, where he's going to get a lot of opportunities to get forward and get crosses in the box and become an effective, valuable attacking wing back. That's where he's most valuable. So look, we can bash on, people were going to bash on Perisic after yesterday, and rightly so. He was terrible, and it wasn't even just defending. It was on the ball. He was doing these stupid first touch passes, just giving it away. It was a terrible day for Perisic, but I don't think he's our biggest problem.
That's for sure. That's for sure. But the fact of the matter is, with Perisic, I've had my reservations about him defensively all season, to be honest. I like him as a player. I really like him as a player. And I think he's had some really good games for us. And he's provided for us, 8 assists this season or something, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But the fact of the matter is, what we're trying to do at Tottenham Hotspur with the Conte system, with the left wing back and the right wing back, he is not the answer to play week in, week out every single game, because he will get torn apart in games like that. So we need an alternative to him, that we can have him and someone else. And Sessegnon is clearly not the answer. Sessegnon's nowhere near good enough. So I guess for next season, we're going to have the answer with Adoji and Perisic playing, but Perisic will be another year older. Maybe even slower. So maybe we do need to try find another left wing back as well, because there's no two ways about it. Perisic is past his best. He's not his best anymore. That's just the facts of the matter.
Who is it? Most players aren't at 33, 34.
And I see a comment here from Rish saying, when all the players are performing under their level, it's the manager. But tell me who is performing under their level, because I think everyone is performing to their level right now. And last season when he got them before, apart from Son, when last season, when you saw the defence keeping out goals and having a really good time of it, they were performing over their level, in my opinion. And every single time we go through this cycle where these players somehow perform over their level for a little bit and always revert back to type. And that's what we're seeing again now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Kulusevski and Kane are both playing very well, when they're on the pitch. I think Bentancur, when he's on the pitch, is playing really well. I think Højbjerg is, maybe recently he's not been great, but I do think, when you come from a technical standpoint, Like, I think he's always been a player that can frustrate you when it comes to like being lax in his passing and things like that. I, as we've said, I think Højbjerg is a good player. I don't think he's a world-class player. I think at the beginning of the season he was playing really well, like consistently playing very strongly. But I think Højbjerg has limitations. He's a limited player, and that's the reality with him. So I do think he's playing fairly to his level. I just think it's players like Dyer, Davis, Emerson, Doherty, Sessegnon. I mean, what do we expect from these players? Do we expect them to be to take us on to push us onto a title challenge? Like, can we have them in a top 4 challenge? Probably. We're challenging for top 4 now. Right, obviously right now it's going wrong and we're sliding down the table, no doubt about it. But we got top 4 with these players last season. Could we potentially? I mean, other teams have improved, so it's probably more unlikely we'll get that. So it's probably more unlikely with these players we can get top 4. But can we challenge for top 4 with these players? Yeah, we can probably challenge for them, but we can't. But we did that last season.
We can't solidify our place.
Yeah, and we can't take it to the next level. We got top 4. We did that last season, so we want the challenge was to step it up, push for third, push for top, push for a league, or push for something big. That was the challenge, and unfortunately, these players are never going to be of the required standard to do that. Never, ever, ever. And we're seeing that now week in, week out, and it's there for all to see. I don't think Emerson and Doherty are playing below their level. I don't see Emerson and Doherty. Like Emerson yesterday was fine, and we've always said in these kind of games when we do a lot of defending, he's always been okay. Those aren't the games where I go mad at Emerson. It's the other 85% of games where he's asked to do a lot of attacking.
What nutcase of a player can only perform against the Man Cities and the Liverpools?
Yeah, I know. That's Emerson. No, but the thing is, if Emerson put in that performance that he did yesterday against like at home to Bournemouth, we would all be going mad. I'm telling you, because that's not what we want. It's what we want against Man City, but it's not what we want when we play at home to Bournemouth. Yeah. So it's different. It's kind of different expectations. Doherty, I think he's doing fine, but I don't think he's a long-term answer. I don't think he's a wing-back. I think he's playing well under Conte, but he's not going to be a player to take you to the next level. Ben Davies and Dyer, they're playing at their level at the moment. How many years are we going to have to suffer through them now? They did all right back in their peak, and they did all right for 6 months under Conte last season. But other than that, they've been
even
average.
In their peak, they were just all right.
It's pretty much ever since the latter days of Poch till right now, they've had 6 good months, and that was under Conte last season.
Yeah, last 6 months of the season.
That's it. They've been so painfully average for a long time now, apart from those 6 months. And it's like those 6 months have convinced everyone that that's the level they should be playing at. When for the other 3.5 years, everyone's saying that's not their true level, but those 6 months are their true level. No, the 3.5 years we saw of them, that's been their level for many, many years now, and we have to accept that. Clement Lenglet, as much as I think he's an okay defender, he's not going to be the answer to take us forward again. He's very similar level to Davis and Dyer, and he also clearly has confidence issues as well. He's been very average at Barcelona for a number of years. We hoped to turn that around and get him playing like he was at Sevilla, maybe in his early days at Barca, but he's now been off form for about 4 years now, and that's the sad reality of Clement Lenglet. Clearly, you can see there's talent in there when it comes to composure on the ball, these kind of things, but he's not going to be the answer to taking this team forward. So we don't have the defenders to compete with the top teams right now. That's reality. I think we have good set midfielders. We have some good forward players. But when it comes to competing for, if we really want to push this team on under Conte, this defence has to be ripped apart.
Yeah, it really does. And when you're looking at players in this squad right now who you think that would get into teams or are good enough for maybe fighting the Man Cities, the Arsenals at the top of the league, not many of them survive. Really, not many of them survive. Romero survives in that back line. That's probably about it. In the midfield, Bentancur survives. That's probably about it. And then Kane, Son, when he's back on form, because I still believe he can get there, and Kulusevski. Apart from them, they're probably the only ones that you would say are adept for a title challenging team. Everyone else is not good enough for that kind of situation.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about first 11, that's for sure.
Look, other players, like I think Højbjerg, right? I think Højbjerg is a very good player. I like him a lot. But I don't think he should be a player that we should be starting week in, week out and his first name on the team sheet. He should be a squad player. That's the quality that we need to be getting at. Højbjerg should be at the lower end of the quality of our team, not at the first name on the team sheet every week.
Yeah.
And we're starting players. How many times are we going to talk about it? But look, the defence is nowhere near good enough. The majority of the squad is nowhere near good enough. They're asking Conte to turn water into wine once again. And until we get new players in, until we refresh this squad, until we get a better back line, we're just going to be seeing the same things week in, week out.
I just don't understand how people don't see it. Like, people can't see these managers we've been bringing in, like Mourinho and Conte, like, people people just believe that we've just brought them in and they've just turned into terrible managers as soon as they come to Spurs. That's just not the case. I think even look at Jose. He's actually doing a decent job at Roma. He's not doing badly there. He's won a European competition and they're challenging for top four. Well, after years of mediocrity, when they've been mid-table for many years, Roma now. And even before Spurs, Jose Mourinho, like, he was winning trophies for Man United. I know he got sacked there, but like, it's just a coincidence. He comes to Tottenham and it's the only club he can't win a trophy with. That's
suddenly overnight. I'm hearing Conte's a dinosaur. His tactics are outdated.
He
this
won a
is
Serie A in
outdated. That
2021.
is outdated. I mean, like, come on, guys. How many managers are we going to keep blaming? How many? The same thing's going to happen in 6 months' time when we bring in a new manager and he doesn't get a new defence, and we're going to say, "Oh, this manager's past his sell by date."
I don't understand these excuses. Like, Conte's outdated. As I said, he last won a league in 2021. 2 years ago. So, like, that is not that outdated if he can win a Serie A. And I saw Jamie Carragher yesterday. He goes, Spurs been hiring Mourinho and Conte, and the Premier League is changing. The football landscape's changing, and you can't win trophies with these kind of managers. And you need who just won the Champions League?
Who did just win the Champions League?
Ancelotti. Is he a really forward-thinking?
He got bloody fortuitous, though, didn't he?
Yeah, but he won the champion and he won a league. He won the league and the Champions League. Like, that's not luck. They built a very good team. They're not the most.
And who won it the year before?
Thomas
Tuchel.
Like, these aren't managers who are the most, like, all like gung ho, all like massive pressing teams. Madrid had to at times be penned very deep and had to ride their luck, or had to defend deep at times. They weren't just all the time pressing forward and had to be gung ho. Look at like in international level as well. Like Didier Deschamps is also not a very attacking manager. Like these tactics, like Diego Simeone, didn't he just win a La Liga? How long ago was that?
About 3-4 years ago.
No, it wasn't that long ago.
No,
during lockdown.
Oh, was it locked? So 2 years ago?
Yeah, during lockdown, 2 years ago. He just won a La Liga. So these are maybe in the Premier League, you could argue maybe it's different. But
well, the last manager to win it like that in the Premier League was Conte.
It was Conte back in 2017. So that's now you're getting 5 years ago. But I'm just saying, in modern day football, these managers can still be clearly can still be successful for me. I think they've shown that. Unai Emery's won a few Europa Leagues. Even recently, he just won one with Villarreal and just got to a semi-final of the Champions League with Villarreal last season. So these kind of tactics are not outdated, in my opinion. They can still work in the modern day if you give them the tools to work with.
That's what it's all about. And you can't expect Conte or any manager, never mind Conte, you can't expect any manager, especially if you keep chopping and changing philosophies. We've got players here now with the remnants of all these different philosophies, all these different managers, and it's just a complete mess. We've used a scattergun approach to sign players. Out of the players that we signed in the summer, how many were actually signed for Conte?
And if you just envisage like what Conte wants in a system, like, and have those players implemented, I really could see this team developing. I really could see this team actually pushing forward. I really believe in the system when it works. We've seen it work and work well, and I'm just imagining like a really good centre back who is strong, like and fast, and three aggressive, strong, fast centre backs in a back three. Really good wing backs who are really good in one-on-one situations and dribbling and crossing and getting forward. Like, we would see a new new team. It would be night and day to what we're seeing now, but we can't trust this defence.
Yeah.
We've seen that. And clearly that's in Conte's mind. He says, you know, you have to think about the characteristics of your defenders, and you can't, you know, push too high because you leave too much space. And, you know, people like Darren Davis and Longley, they can't handle that. And that's the reality of this defence. And people saying, you know, he has to change up. I think he has changed up. I think he's changed it to try and combat our defence right now. And unfortunately, it's not working.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. And, you know, what's even more painful is that you're looking around other clubs in the Premier League that don't need to strengthen anywhere near as much as us. You look at Arsenal, top of the league by 8 points, just signed Trossard, just signed a new centre-back. They've got Trossard competing with Martinelli and Saka. They've got new centre-backs competing with Saliba and Gabriel and everyone else that they have there. And we're just twiddling our thumbs, waiting till the last day of the transfer window to make one signing when we clearly need so many. And you're talking about not being able to make signings in January. Look at Chelsea. Look at everyone else making signings in January, and we're just sitting here on our asses, just letting the transfer window pass us by once again. This hierarchy, Daniel Levy and ENIC, they're criminals, man. They're absolute criminals. All they want to do is make money off the pitch and just about get us into the top four, and that's all they care about. They don't care about, you know, matching ambitions of managers that they bring in. I mean, I'd love to see the interviews that these managers have when they first come to the club and what Daniel Levy says to them to get them through the door, because the same thing happens with every single manager. How did he get Conte through the door? How did he get Jose Mourinho through the door? They walk through the door, they see these amazing training pitch, they see this amazing stadium, and they're thinking, all right, this club has the potential to explode. But no, it gets held back by that ownership every single time. And I'd love to see what he says to them. I really would.
Yeah, I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of these owners. They don't know how to deal with the modern day transfer market and how modern day clubs are run. Like in terms of on the footballing side, they just don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. They're too slow to act. They don't act in the right for the right areas, and I think it's happened time and time again. And
they basically still act like we were under like Martin Jol and the early stages of Pochettino and stuff like that. Like the club and football has moved on so much since then. So much. And they're still caught back in those times where they just want to win every negotiation. I mean, it seems like all it is for Daniel Levy is just to win a negotiation. It doesn't even matter if it's a good deal or a bad deal for the club. He just wants to win the negotiation.
Yeah, that's all he cares about.
It's ridiculous. Like these offers that he's making for Pedro Porro, like 35 million plus Davinson Sanchez. Like in the grand scheme of things, that's probably worth more than his release clause.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Just pay the money. Like, I don't understand. Like, what is the hold up? Like, it's really not that big of an issue. I'm just tired. I'm tired of this ownership, man. I'm absolutely tired of it. It's so draining, and I'm drained. I'm drained.
You're telling me I got back from Manchester at 3:30 in the morning last night.
Said it a million times, and they're not learning. They're never going to learn.
And like the fan base last night, like in the away end, it was just like so dejected, man. Like one person would start like a Levy out chant, and then like a couple of people would sing, and that was it. We had a few songs in the first half at the beginning and when we were 2-0 up. But apart from that, like it was just so subdued in that away end last night. You could just see everyone is just so depressed. I had some guy next to me in the away end last night. He travelled up to Manchester last night from Devon, going straight back home after the game. He's not going to get back till probably 5-6 in the morning, going back to Devon. This guy goes home and away in Europe, up and down the country every single week from Devon, having to witness that shit every single week. And it's like these fans, these loyal fans going up and down the country. It's not fair. It's just not fair on them. Like the hierarchy need to put their hands in their pocket, and they need to do it now, because we're just falling further and further and further behind. The fan base are getting depressed.
And there's no excuse. The money is there. I'm sorry, the money is there. We just announced we're going to announce probably record profits in February. We earned more money last season than we did when we got into the Champions League final. Right, we've clearly seeing the effect of what the stadium is bringing in terms of revenues. Commercial revenue now is higher than it's ever been. We earn, I think it's we earn more. We earn 100 million, nearly 100 million last season, more than Arsenal.
Yeah,
like in terms of revenue, that's going to continue to happen because that stadium's going to. It's actually going to probably be more because it's going to be. We didn't have as many concerts last season we got this season. We didn't have as many, like probably more NFL games and more this season. We've got Champions League football this season as well. So this money is only going to get higher.
I guarantee you, very soon Spurs are going to announce record profits ever in the Premier League. They're probably going to make the most out of anyone in the Premier League in terms of how much money they're bringing in from this stadium, how much money they're bringing in from all these different avenues. And still, we're going to be penny pinching around in the market.
And again, it's not about like, oh, we should be spending 100 million on Mudryk or something like that. It's just about when you've gone through the legwork of identifying a player with the management, and you believe and you believe this player could be what the player to take you on, then don't skimp out on him. Don't negotiate and lose out on a deal because of a few million. And we're at risk of doing that. Pedro Porro, we put a derisory bid for Leandro Trossard of 12 million. Is that because we didn't really want him, or is it because we just thought we could get a good deal, or did we actually identify him as a player we believe could benefit us? And then we put in a 12 million bid. I like the way we're approaching the recruitment is so behind every other club. It's so behind. We don't know what we're doing,
and it's like you see these gaping holes in the squad, and the only way you want to improve it is by opportunities in the window. But then you go and sign Richarlison for 60 million. Why did you not spend 60 million on a centre back? Like, as much as yes, we needed Richarlison, as much as
both. Yeah.
Of course we should have done both. But if you're only going to do one, don't do Richarlison. Get a centre back in. I really like Richarlison, and I think he's going to be a good player at this football club. I think injuries have held him back and whatever. But I think that the fact of the matter is that you're looking for opportunities in the window too much. That's all they do is look for opportunities. We probably wouldn't have signed Richarlison if Everton weren't going through that financial fair play situation. He probably would have cost more than 60 million.
And
same with Bissouma. Perisic only came in because he was a free transfer. Like Longley only came in as a loan and a stopgap when we were looking at Bastoni and Gvardiol and these kind of players. Like, all the transfers that we make are opportunities in the window that present themselves during a window. It's not down to planning. You look at January last year, we're looking at Luis Diaz and this. Like, we only signed Bentancur and Kulusevski because they came up as opportunities later on in the window. There is no planning at this football club whatsoever. We've brought in Paratici to do all these plannings and to sort out the transfer window and Spurs as a future. But what's he doing? Where's the planning? I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. Like, what's happening? What if is he identifying these players? It just feels like it's still Levy.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
Feels like nothing's changed.
Yeah, it feels
nothing's
like
changed.
We were told he was going to take a step back. It doesn't seem as if he has, to me. Anyway.
But look, that is the match review. Gone off on a bit of a tangent as well. We have lost 4-2 to Man City at the Etihad yesterday. And up next is Fulham on Monday night. And I believe if Fulham beat us, they go above us, right?
They do. Same games played. Which is, look, and that's a very high possibility of that happening, with Fulham winning 4 of their last 5, playing very well at the moment. Craven Cottage, very difficult place to go. It's going to be difficult to go and win there, especially how we're playing right now. And look, we're going to have the preview and everything on Sunday, but it doesn't get any easier. But let's get into these super chats.
Go on.
Jaden says, forget top 4. We're in a relegation battle. Levy out. And to be honest, not to joke, obviously I don't think we're in a relegation battle, but if we do, like, we got our next 2 league games are Fulham and Man City. If we don't get positive results,
Man City again.
Yeah, if we don't get positive results in those games, we could very easily find ourselves in 8th or 9th. Like,
do you think Levy is going to pull the trigger and have the balls to sack Conte?
Who knows?
Like, how much worse can it get in Levy's mind for him to go and sack him?
Historically, whenever we really fall out the race for top 4, that's when he pulls the trigger. And if we do lose a couple of games, and with the form that we're on, we have lost 6 of our last 10 games. And we, as you say, the defense has been shocking. I think it would be a massive mistake, but because I don't think it's going to improve. It might improve in the short term for a bit, but I don't think the overarching thing is going to improve. But you never know, with this hierarchy. You never know. Yeah, I reckon if we do lose the next 2 games, there's a big chance he could pull the trigger. Big chance.
All right, let's go to the call.
We still got more.
Oh, sorry.
We got Biggie Sing Joel with a.
Come on, Biggie. Come on, Biggie.
Ryland1738 says random, but ddid you guys realize David Raya is 27? I thought he was younger. Loving the stream, guys. Hopefully you'll both have a win to talk about soon. So do I. Yeah, Raya, he's 27 is fairly young for a keeper, to be fair, but I thought he was in his early 20s. But I'm guessing I was still thinking about when Brentford were in the Championship. I remember he was being spoken about, and I guess that's now a few years behind.
But at 27, he's still going to have a minimum of a great 5 years here, and the rest.
Yeah, for sure. So it's fine. Alex Samuels, big up to him. Members chat, he says, watching us play out from the back is like watching a piece of china rocking back and forth on the edge of a table, about to smash onto the floor.
That is actually spot on, down to a T,
pretty
man.
Much,
Absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think when we're being pressed, I don't think our back line is good enough in possession. And also, only Bentancur is really good enough to take possession in. I don't think the wing backs. Perisic usually is good, but yesterday he was terrible at receiving the ball. I don't think you can trust Emerson and Doherty really to do it.
That miss from Perisic at the back post, man. If he scores that, we might even go on and win the game.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was a real turning point when it comes to where the result was going in that game, because I think we'd actually got back in the game, and I think once we missed and then they scored straight away, I think that really took a big toll on us, because I think we'd actually gotten back in the game after 2-2 and we were looking good again, but that was a big moment in the game, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the next one?
That's it.
All right. Well, let's go to the call-ins and let's get Alexander on.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey mate.
I'm looking. I need to sort my hair out, but never mind.
No, you're looking great. You're looking great. Don't you worry about that. Talk to me about last night, man.
So, I mean, I went to watch it with my brother-in-law and
he's just frozen. I'm not sure if you could hear us, Alex, but I think you froze. So hopefully if you can reconnect, we can get you back on. He was just about to tell us where he was watching the game last night.
Should we?
We'll keep going, and we'll get you on, Alexander, when you do reconnect. But let's keep going, and let's go to KPV. Well, it looks like he's frozen as well now. Oh, we've frozen.
No, we haven't frozen. He's still there.
KPV, are you there? Are you there, KPV?
Hello?
KPV, how you doing, my friend?
Kyle?
The same as always, not good. Yo!
All right, you can, yeah,
I think there's a bit of a lag, KPV, so just go for it. Tell us what you want to say on the game last night.
Shit game, but first half we were brilliant. Like, Kulu does it again at the empty head, as he always does. He opened the scoring, and then Emerson Chicken Royale finally scores his first goal, but that's
he scores when he wants, KPV. He scores when he wants.
I know. I know he does. He scores when he wants, but Kulu is back, baby. Kulu's back in the goals. First goal in 2023. I know Kane has got, 2, and Son only has 1, but what is going on with this club, man? Tell me. Tell me!
Oh, how long do you have, Kyle?
What's that?
How long do you have if you want to know what's going on in this club? A lot of things. It's very,
no,
very
pretty much
difficult.
nothing is going on with this club. That's what's going on. Nothing is going on.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. Nothing's going on, but we are shit. Get leaving Enoch out, and it looks like Kane's going to leave in the summer, because you probably saw that we won't block a third attempt for him to leave, so I don't blame the guy wanting to leave. So maybe it's his choice, but who are we going to get that scores 30 goals a season? Name me a guy. Everyone in the chat, name me a player who you want.
I think if you get rid of Kane, you're going to need to sign about 3 or 4 players. that bring you the goals that he does and the assists that he does. It's not just you can't sign a single player to replace Harry Kane. It's just not. You just can't do it. He's too good.
Okay, I get your point. Like, name me one player then. Name me four. Like, Tony, Brentford.
Well, back when Kane was looking to go to Man City at the end of that season, I think we were looking at Danny Ings, weren't we?
Danny Ings, Emmanuel scores against us, but he's gone to the spammers. 15 million. He's now the second expensive player since Alan Shearer left Blackburn to join Newcastle, as expressions call them. But Danny Mings has joined West Ham. Like, give me a break, Ria. I'm done, man. I'm out.
All right,
Don't
KPV.
go to games, man. Just bring back some FIFA content, because enough is this. Everyone is going to see these.
Bring back Ben Simeone. That's who needs to take charge.
Are you going to
man.
the protest on Saturday, KPV?
I will love to, but like, I don't know if we've got any drivers here, but I'd love to. And just before I go, I've just seen on Twitter that Spurs Cyprus flag are upset they can't bring no flag to the stadium anymore, which is
It's been retracted,
upsetting.
Carl. They're allowing it back in now.
How do you know?
They
How
sent
do you
out a
know?
tweet. They sent out a tweet.
Oh, like, so the club are lying to us, and now they're not letting us, but now they're letting us. Fair enough.
Yeah,
but
they retracted the decision.
fair play, lads. But anyway, I'm off. Anyway, we'll often wrap up with a Fenway cover for who, Chris Kamara? That's what
I don't know. Has it?
I must have missed that. That was good. I know Daigle's not watching this.
We'll see you soon, KPV.
Oh,
We'll see you soon. Thanks for coming on today,
man.
mate.
Levy out.
Big up.
But I'm
All right, let's keep going. Let's get Alexander back on.
Hey guys,
Hi,
I
mate.
don't know what
I don't know
happened
what
there.
happened there.
So, yeah, so I was watching it. I was watching the game round at my brother-in-law's with
Okay.
with him and my niece, who used to play for Spurs under 16s
Oh, right.
until last year. And we're watching the game. Obviously, 2-0 up. We're thinking, fantastic. We're going to do them again, like we always do. Typical. And then we just came out second half. I mean, we played quite well in the first half, to be honest. City had a few chances. Obviously, we had our goals, but it's not like Conte was right in his post-match interview when he said that we played better than we did last year. I think that's a fair, except for the comical defending. I mean, Perisic on the first goal. I mean, I've seen people blaming Lloris. I didn't think that he was at fault the first time, but to be honest, I haven't seen a replay of that goal. But I know that Perisic was, it was just a lazy challenge. He just stuck out a leg, and Mahrez walked past him. On the second goal, how he should be winning that header before it's flicked across the goal to Haaland.
Yeah.
And on the third goal, he should have gone down, claiming for a foul because Mahrez stood on his foot, and VAR might have ruled it out if he'd actually claimed for it.
On who? Perisic's foot.
Yeah, he stood on Perisic's foot as he okay, Perisic missed the ball. I mean, that's the two things, right? Perisic, like, again, he's just sort of gone diving in, totally missed the ball, and then the attacker's away. And what Lloris was doing for that, standing on his goal line and leaving essentially, a yard, saying, "Here you go. I'm leaving you a nice gap at the near post for you to slot in." I mean, his positioning was dreadful. I mean, that's just basic goalkeeping. So he should be a yard, in that position. He should either be standing next to the post, or he should be ideally, half a yard off his line to narrow the angle, and he does neither. And
Alexander, do you think that? Look, we all know that we need to get a new goalkeeper, and everyone's saying that we should do it in this. Well, people are saying that it's going to happen in the summer. Do you think that that position needs to be escalated now? We need to deal with that this January.
It's a good question. I think ultimately it comes down to how much money do we have? And you know, from the sound of, I mean, our biggest problem at Spurs, and it seems like this is the perennial biggest problem at Spurs, is that we've always got about half our squad that we want to get rid of. I mean, I remember, you know, back in the, we've always had, you know, going back to the days of, you know, when I was growing up, it was, we actually had a good team of, you know, Perryman and Hoddle and Waddle and whatnot. But if you think of how it was in the 90s, probably when you guys were first supporting Spurs, it's always been that we've had sort of one or two good players. You know, we had Campbell, you know, we had Sheringham, then we had Ledley King. We always had like one or two good players, and the rest of the team we could say, okay, some of them are okay, but the rest of them we need to upgrade on. And it's the same thing over and over again. So it's just a question of like, we need to, I don't know, if we've got enough money. The first thing is for Europe, we can only replace 3 players. So the question is Loris, is goalkeeper a priority? I'm not sure it's 100% a priority. I don't know how much of our bad defending is because the defenders are thinking, you know, we've got this clown behind us, but he's the club captain. But I think the other thing is like there's not too much. I don't know if you noticed it last night. Højbjerg was shouting. I don't know who it was at some point because it was someone who was out of the shot of the camera. But someone had given the ball away, and Højbjerg was giving him a piece of his mind. And I was thinking, like, we never see that. We should be seeing that far more often, where there's players on the pitch showing leadership. But coming back to your question, I'm not sure that goalkeeper is a priority. I think some of the outfield positions, you know, it's a chicken or egg. Is the defense crap because they're worried about Lloris, or is Lloris making mistakes because he's got no faith in the defense? And I think until honestly we replace all of them, we might never find out the answer to that question.
Alexander, what do we do at this point? You know, we've conceded the most goals in the Premier League since the start of October. We're currently 15th in the table for goals conceded. We're literally making mistakes after mistake every game, every match, it seems. Conte can't seem to turn these defenders into players who are not making mistakes. So what do we do? Is Conte the issue, or, you know, do we have to give him new defenders?
I think it's really a difficult situation because I also think that what comes into it is the uncertainty over Conte's future. I think we saw it a few years ago with Man United when Alex Ferguson was supposedly going to retire at the end of the season, and United were dreadful, but he actually ended up renewing his contract, and they won the league the following year. And there's definitely an element of the players thinking, well, maybe, you know, some of them, whereas last year they were playing for their future, thinking, oh, this new coach, if he doesn't like the look of me, then maybe I'm going to be out of the door. Now they're thinking, well, he's not, you know, I'm only speculating here, but some of them I'm sure are thinking, well, he's not going to be here in 6 months, so we just need to ride out the storm until the new guy comes in, and then maybe I'll get a new contract, maybe I'll, or, you know, or maybe I'll, you know, get in the team under the new guy. Because Dyer seems to be a player like that every new manager comes in and thinks he's the answer in defence, but he then reverts to type and gives the ball away.
Does every manager think he's the answer, or does every manager not get an option to change him?
I mean, we don't know. We can only speculate on things like that of how much is board interference, or I would assume.
What do you genuinely believe? What do you believe?
So I genuinely believe that if the manager went to the board, okay, there's what do I genuinely believe? It's a really difficult one, because I do think that if the manager went to the board and said, look, these players, these are the objectives, and the playing squad that I've got is not good enough to meet those objectives, I think that's a reasonable thing to say, certainly for players who've been here for a long time. But there's other players that we've got who, for whatever reason, haven't been given a chance. Where, Spence, for example, I think it'd be difficult to say, well, he's not good enough, because we've never seen him in the, when we have seen him play against Premier League teams, albeit for Nottingham Forest, he's looked like he's more than good enough to be to be, especially given the standard of the players that play ahead of him. But for players like Dyer, who've been here for a decade, or Ben Davies, these guys were. I mean, Dyer was always a young prospect. He never really. He only started getting in the team as a central midfielder because Pochettino saw that he had some promise to play in that position, and then he got injured. I don't know, he had that illness, didn't he, a few years ago that really took it out of him.
Yeah.
And he was out for quite some time. And I think, in fairness to him, I don't think he's been the same player since then. But as a club, that's where I think sometimes, take Dele Alli, for example. I mean, I think nobody foresaw the sort of drop off in form that he was going to suffer. And we don't really understand. Yeah, that's. I would assume that's psychological. That it's not because he's suddenly forgotten how to play football. There's obviously something going on, that's out of the public eye that we don't really know anything about. But we could have sold Dele Alli for probably £100 million a few years ago. We ended up basically giving him away with the hope that that we'll get something out of it if he can turn his career around. So, the same thing. But we don't seem to be, on the one hand, we're not ruthless enough in terms of getting players out, But I do think there's a degree of okay, for example, do you remember after the Champions League final, and Eriksen said he wanted to go, or all but said that he wanted to leave the club.
Yeah.
And in the end, he stayed because whoever wouldn't pay the fee. I think there would have been a big outcry from the fans if we'd started selling players like Dele Alli and Eriksen after that Champions League failure, then I think the fans would be up in arms. Why are we selling our best players? This is Levy. He's only wanted to, look at the profit he's made. He paid 12.5 million for Eriksen. He's just sold him for 90 or whatever it would be. So I think, in fairness to the board, in some ways they can't. It seems like sometimes they can't win.
Yeah, but what I would say to that, sorry to cut you off for a second. What I would say to that is, fine, there might be outcry from the fans when these players do get sold, but if you bring in adequate replacements and adequate, players to bring in their place that can do the job that they do, if not better, then everything would be fine. But they don't do that. Eriksen has left. We still haven't replaced him.
Yeah.
Bruno, we slimmed down a few million.
Yeah.
We could have had Bruno if we wanted it. If we wanted him.
I mean, I don't know what we offer for him. I mean, this is some of the fees though for play. Okay, like Porro's a good example. Sporting signed him for under £10 million in the summer, and I understand that their position is if you want him now, you've got to pay the release clause because we don't want to sell him. But I can also understand the club's reluctance to pay over 4 times what he went for in the summer for a player that's never proven that he can play in the Premier League. Because the other thing is our history of transfers. I don't think we've signed anyone who cost more than £25 million that you could say has actually been an out and out hit in a Spurs shirt.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. All our big signing has been poor. But that doesn't mean that you can't make good signings that are expensive. Yeah. I mean, Pedro Porro, he's looking like a brilliant player in Portugal, albeit, yes, he hasn't played in the Premier League. But if you're willing to spend 35 million plus a Davinson Sanchez, then why aren't you willing to spend 45 million? If you've identified him as the target that you want to bring in, then you bring him in.
But maybe it's a cash flow issue. Like I do think there's some legitimate arguments because we're in a position, all businesses are like this. They have monthly forecasts of, and daily and annual forecasts of cash flow, and they'll be operating on the basis that we're going to take in X per month. And so
but why is it only us that think like that? Arsenal didn't even finish in the Champions League. We're bringing in more revenue than them outside of the Champions League. Well, regardless of that Champions League qualification, they're putting in 95 million bids for Mudryk. They've already signed 2 free players this transfer window. They're top of the league by 8 points.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that they're not. First of all, they're not paying that £95 million in one hit, which is what we would have to do if we just went to Sporting and said, "Okay, release clause, here you go." For that to be activated, we'd have to give them not a check because no one pays with checks these days, but we'd have to transfer the full amount in one hit, and there may be reasons we don't know. it's annoying for us as fans because we're sitting there and maybe we think, you know what, in today's climate, maybe 45 million pounds for a, or euros, whatever the price is maybe that's the going rate for a, you know, if you're a Champions League side, or you know, maybe that is the going rate if you want to sign a right back who's half decent.
It is.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, the club has a, you know, you use the phrase sort of the owners need to put their hand in their pockets. Do you mean literally? So they need to, okay, I've got, you know, like basically inject money into the club. Is that what you mean?
I don't think they need to. I think this club is generating more than enough revenue, and the financial results will come out, which they're withholding from us, by the way. This club is literally making so much money on this stadium, got Champions League money, got an injection from ENIC as well. Where has all that money gone?
I mean, we did have to pay off this COVID loan, so I assume that's part of where it's gone.
Yeah, but that's long-term debt, which is we've reconsolidated to a good rate. It's like this is the loan. That loan is fine. We're about to announce record revenues, record profits at the end of February. We earned more last season than we did in the season we got to the Champions League final. We got more revenue last season. So and next season is going to go up because we've got Champions League football. We've got more concerts. We've got NFL. Like, these things are only going to go up. So there's no excuse, in my opinion, to say that 45 million euros, 39 million is something that's too much for us.
Again, we don't know the way the club operates. I would be surprised if they've got, because the thing is, it's not just in terms of, like, we might have 35 or 40 million euros that we can pay out now. But the question is, how does that impact things going forward? Maybe that would mean that we could only sign Porro this window.
And why can't we sign Porro and then do other players with loans and obligations and all that kind of stuff, which they want to do with like if
I'm saying this is where we're all speculating because ultimately we don't know. I'm just saying there's a reasonable possibility that is the reason, rather than just the
we're one of the best financially set up clubs in England. How can we use?
But that's because we have strict financial controls, and that's what because you can't say we're one of the best, most well-run clubs in the country. Therefore, we should abandon those principles to go out and spend loads of money that maybe.
Yeah, but we haven't signed anyone, Alex.
But Alex, we're a football club first before we are a business. Look, everything's a business right now. I completely accept that the club need to make their money. I completely accept that. But when you're letting things on the pitch go rotten, it's nowhere near good enough. You can't have these players keep coming in, week out, with no options to change things. Like, what's Conte supposed to do? Why did they bring him to this football club?
Well, this is the thing. If we go back to the summer, as far as we know, Conte was, with the exception of Spence, that he very publicly made it clear that it wasn't his choice. He seemed, I don't remember his exact words, but he certainly seemed happy with the business that we've done.
I disagree. Conte, all he said in the summer, after the summer business, was that we're stronger than last season. He never said he was happy with the state of the squad, or he never said how delighted he is with the players that came in or the state of the squad. All he said is, we are stronger than last season, which numerically we were. And that was just a fact.
Okay, but for me, we talked about Richarlison. I don't know if that was a Conte buy. I think we overpaid for him. I don't think he's looked like a £60 million player. So again, like maybe he needs to settle into the new surroundings, and he needs the rhythm of playing more regularly. I don't know, but we went out, we spent money, we bought Bissouma, and you can argue that we got a good deal, we got a good price for him because he had a year left on his contract. But ultimately, in terms of quality, we were all delighted. He was one of the best central midfielders in the league, playing in a Brighton shirt. And for us, he looks like, what's his name? Who was the guy that used to play in midfield? Alton Thelwell. Is that his name?
He was a centre back, I think. But yeah, I get your point. I get your point.
He's just like looks this dreadful player that, I don't know if he's overawed by suddenly he's a club. I mean, you have this a lot. This is one of the other things that we don't think about, but it's, you know, Spurs are an elite club, and there is a huge gap between playing for a team like Brighton and coming to play for Spurs. And we've seen this over the years many times. That a player that we signed who looks brilliant until he comes from Spurs just can't, you know, mentally isn't up to the pressure of play, you know, and that's not necessarily a slight on those players. Not everybody is elite. Not everybody is capable of being the, you know, the top, that in that top 1% of elite athletes. But being in the top 2% still means you're, you know, bloody amazing footballer. But you're not quite. So again, you never know that until you've actually signed the player and they walk through the door. Every player's a gamble, and I definitely think our recruitment's improving since Paratici took over.
Well, I think everything's up in the air with Paratici at the moment.
Well, that's another question. Is like whether he's going to be, we could be looking for a new director of football as well as a new manager.
It's very possible. Very possible.
I don't know the ins and outs of that, but from what I've heard, there's a chance that he could.
I think we're going to have to just see how it all plays out at the moment, but we definitely need signings in from now to the end of the window. But Alexander, thank you for coming on today, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
And
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We'll speak to you next time.
Okay, take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye. Let's keep going, guys. Well, actually, let's get to these super chats first before we move on. Brazen Bull says, I'm sick of Conte saying we have played with personality when we have been played off the park. Personally, does that get you clean sheets and a goal? Brazen Bull again says, top quality players will play well under any half-decent manager. Just ENIC need to invest big in players or we'll be a mid-table club soon. Thoughts on Conte playing players clearly out of form? Again, that brings me back to my point, which I said not long ago in this stream, is that what options does he have?
That's the thing. He's changed it. He's put this one in or that one in, but it doesn't seem to change. These players, you know, you might get one good performance out of Longley, and then all of a sudden he's making mistakes again. And then you put in Davis, you might get good performances out of him, and then the next one he'll make a mistake. And it's like you could say you
always going to revert back to type.
It's almost like he could pick any of the back five, and you can get blamed for playing a player out of form. That's the reality. So he doesn't have a choice. And
it's not just with Conte, right? It's happened time and time again throughout since we've been running this channel, really. How many times have we heard, oh, Dyer's injured, once he comes back in we're going to be the best team? It happens time and time again with so many different players, and then we realise when these players actually play, oh no, it's actually just a quality issue within the squad, not with specific personnel.
And you remember Jose, he wasn't as rigid as Conte. He was willing to change it. He went to a back three sometimes, he went to a back four. He was willing to change the centre-back partner. How many different centre-back partnerships we used that season? So many.
It was different every week.
And then he got criticism because he changed it too much. And all of a sudden now people are saying, like with Conte, it's like, oh, these players keep making the same mistakes. Like, how can you keep playing them? It's like, if he kept chopping and changing it every single week, you'd also criticise him. Because there's no stability.
They criticise him for not changing it enough.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, come on, guys, what do you want?
He only has the players available to him.
Exactly. Lee Richards with the super chat saying there are strong rumours that when figures are published in Feb, they'll show over 150 million profit. Releasing them after the window closes is classic Levy.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Why wouldn't there be when we're making revenues over 450 million, 80 million more than Arsenal? We're in the top 9 in the world when it comes to revenues generated for this football club. So I'm not surprised that we're set to announce record profits. That makes complete sense to me, and it just I think there's a specific reason that we're doing that after the transfer window as well.
Everything that happens is very calculated by this board. Every decision that they make, regardless of apart from bringing in players, pretty much.
Yep.
Let's go on to our next guest, and it's my Grandpa Brian. Let's bring him on. Grandpa, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you loud and clear. Loud and clear. What were your thoughts on the game last night, Grandpa?
Yes. Well, where I'd like to just start is the positives from that game.
Okay.
And there were some. First of all, we reversed the situation. We played better in the first half than we did in the second half. We didn't concede a goal in the first half. First time has happened in 14 games.
But
So,
Grandpa, it was also the first time in Conte's career that he's conceded 4 in one half.
that's right. But I'm siding with the positives and not the negatives.
Fair enough.
And I thought that City, in the second half, the way they came out, so aggressive, so strong, and we just weakened all the time. We were outbeaten, outshone, outrun in every respect.
Yeah.
And we were totally let down by our defence. And I think we've just got to look at that as a positive so that we know that that's got to be filled. I think the argument that we've been having, and where I've been on a different side probably to some of your other callers, is hate ENIC, hate Levy, and perhaps even get rid of Conte. I think we don't know who is to blame, but certainly I'm losing patience, because one of the things that is so obvious to everybody that we need at least 3 new players. And certainly attacking wing backs, we really need that. We'll run up the wing and actually tackle and get round the other players. We're just not getting it. So whose fault is it? Is it Conte or is it Levy? And is Conte... I mean, if Conte leaves, it's going to be Levy's fault because he's not backing him. I mean, other teams are buying players, paying the asking price, and we're not. And we're just falling all over the place. So I don't know. If he doesn't, over the next 10 days, doesn't get us 3 good players, I think he should leave. And leave quite quickly so that we can actually bring in the players that whoever our new coach would be. And that's the patience I will lose. And I think Conte will as well. So if Conte doesn't get them, he will probably leave of his own accord and not sign the contract. And I think he should be asked now, sign the contract. And if you're not going to sign the contract, then go. He's got to be behind it, and he's got to take in the right people. And if he says, I'm not signing the contract, why aren't you signing the contract? And if he says, well, you're not buying the players I'm recommending, you're not paying the price, you're not taking the risks that you should be taking, then he's right to go. And that's my take on it all now. So I'm coming around to the loss of patience now that you guys are all feeling as well.
Welcome
I don't know
to the club, Grandpa. Welcome to the club.
So I'm not saying out this, out that at the moment, but I'm saying that the patience is running out, and he's only got 10 days now to actually show us that he wants the players and he's allowed to take them. If not, he's better to go. But then we have another problem, because whoever he brings in is still going to have the same problem that they're not going to buy. So, I mean, we've got a really, really difficult situation in the future. And it's a shame, because basically we haven't got a bad team, but we've only got one team. Somebody's injured, we haven't got a replacement. Somebody gets tired on the pitch, like Perisic
like
did.
Bentancur did yesterday. Perisic, yeah.
Yeah, both of them did. They got tired, and it's not surprising that Perisic did. He's getting on, and there was nobody to replace them sensibly, and the ones that did replace them made mistakes. And we should never have lost those 3 goals. They were all mistakes. I think they were all mistakes anyway. I think Perisic made a mistake. Longleat made a terrible mistake. And, they gave him a free goal. And I think, I honestly think again that Lloris made a mistake. That shot from that angle, he should have got. He should have got that. And the punch out, he should have stayed in his goal. He shouldn't have jumped in then. He should have stayed there. But who knows? But he's making too many.
All right. We are back. Apologies for the technical difficulties. We are back up and running. I'm guessing the guests need to rejoin. We'll try and get my grandpa back if he's still there.
If you just reconnect the session, hopefully people are still there.
Let's see.
Is he?
Yeah,
Grandpa's still there. Good.
Oh, I see.
I see how it is. I see how it is. Yeah, I see how it is, Grandpa. All right, let's bring Grandpa back on. Sorry to cut you off there. The internet went down for a second. But where were we?
Yeah, you've gone frozen again.
Have
Yeah,
we?
you're not. Yeah, you're on. Yeah, you're going. We're on and off.
Oh, is he there? Is he still? Is he crashed again?
No, he's there, Grandpa. I can see
No, he's
him.
there. He's there.
Yeah, I'm here, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not.
we can hear you.
I'm not moving. I'm moving on my little picture of the.
We
at the
can
bottom.
see you, Grandpa. It's completely fine on YouTube and our end, so just go for it.
Anyway, I've said buy some new pairs in the next 10 days. Not always been saying that, Levy, and you're not paying enough. With looking at an offer, and the offer's not as much as they're asking for, and they've done it. They've
I'm not.
said, yeah, it works.
All right, fine. Well, and I'll see you very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's lagging. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if you can hear me.
Maybe if you go on to Michael, Alex, you'll see better.
All right. Nice one, Grandpa.
It's fucked. The Wi-Fi's just not connected. We're connected using this, not the Ethernet.
No, but when it was Ethernet, it was flashing.
Yeah.